In this example, we want to make a proof. We want to prove a conjecture that we did in an earlier example, that the difference between consecutive perfect squares is always an odd number. So that is what we want to prove. Now, in order to do that, we have to do something similar to example 1, and that is we have to change our numbers. Instead of just doing examples and doing lots of examples, which is inductive reasoning. In order to prove it, we have to do it in a way that it does it for every single number, and that's when we have to use the x again. Now, you could use a different letter, but it's very common that people use x. Now, x is any integer. And before we continue with this question, there's other ways that we can write numbers. So x is any number at all. Now, if the number is even, it can be written as 2x. So every even number can be written as 2x. 10 is 2 times 5. That's an example of that one. Every odd number can be written as 2x plus 1. So 11 would be 2 times 5 plus 1. It guarantees that the number is odd if it can be written like in that method. Consecutive numbers would be x plus 1. If we had another consecutive number, it could be x plus 2. Or we could subtract from x1. So those are important to know. There's more that you could come up with. But in this case, we're talking about consecutive perfect squares is always an odd number. So the smaller number, or the smaller square, has a side of x. The larger one would be x plus 1. And we want to subtract the two. The difference between consecutive perfect squares is always an odd number. So we take the larger one, x plus 1, and we square it. We subtract the smaller one, which is x, and we square it. Now you can multiply these out. X plus 1 squared is x squared plus 2x plus 1, and we subtract the x squared. Now the x squared subtract the x squared will give you 2x plus 1. Because we can write the difference of squares as 2x plus 1, this proves that this is a odd number. Now, if you're having difficulty getting from here to here, all we're doing is going x plus 1 squared is x plus 1 times x plus 1, and then we multiply each part of the first factor by each part of the second factor. So x times x is x squared, x times 1 is x, 1 times x is x, and 1 times 1 is 1. And when you join together the x's, you'll get 2x, and that's what we have right here. If you do have any questions, please contact me.